Vol'Jin is almost certainly going to return, and that is for a few reasons. First of all, recently Shadowlands was confirmed to be a complete scam and not even a real realm, and certainly not a real afterlife, and we might figure out this mechanism very soon when the Titans arrive. However, we got a huge troll team with the Amani and also the new troll island involving the Loa in 12.1 that was datamined. Remember, Vol'Jin is no longer a darkspear or a warchief. He was merged together with the Loa of Kings Rezan and was placed in a wildseed set for resurrection nearly a decade ago, so his time to return is now. As a new Loa, he's going to be relevant for all the trolls, not just the darkspear, and remember, when he comes back, this is not going to be warchief or Vol'Jin, but very likely a figure similar to Bwonsamdi. What is everything we know about Vol'Jin and his potential return as soon as midnight? With TBC Classic Anniversary coming out, there is no better survival guide to lead you through the Dark Portal once again than Rested XP. It's perfect for those that want to be fully prepared for hardcore gameplay. You'll get the most secure path from level 1 to 70 for every class and zone, attunement, daily quests, reputation, it's all there. Best routes, grinding spots, and dungeons to reach level 70 safely. Use my link in the description below and get 10% off your order immediately. Check out Rested XP. So I can actually cover this a few times in the past with a few hints we had gotten with Vol'Jin throughout the last couple of expansions, but there is something really interesting now to revisit this entire story arc, and that is the fact that the Shadowlands were recently all but confirmed to be fake, and this really changes everything about Vol'Jin. I mean, Vol'Jin is literally not even dead, and he's just chilling in Ardenweald with a high possibility of return in the near future. So check this out. I mean, you heard the end of the War Within questline with Sylvanas, where she says that the Shadowlands are not a true afterlife, they are way too ordered for it to be natural, and how she peered beyond the true veil of death, and she says that there is an actual afterlife there. Instead, it is implied that the Titans had a hand in the creation of the Shadowlands realm and literally just got another layer of their prison over the planet. This makes a ton of sense with the strange connection to Ardenweald and the world trees of Azeroth, and also the old hint from the Shadowlands of how Primus seemingly got help from the Titans and how the jailer wanted to fight for the true death realm while the other guys were obviously constructs. It seems like the entire Shadowlands realm is a farce and a scam, and that the Shadowlands beings are literally kidnapping people from the actual afterlife and taking them to their place. Vol'Jin is one of the ones that was directly manipulated like this, and we had the entire questline back in Shadowlands that set up his return, which is like 6 years later. It is definitely going to happen, especially with the troll heavy team we have in Midnight. So Vol'Jin was actually one of the shortest reigning warchiefs of the Horde, despite being one of the oldest characters in the game, the founding member of the Horde back from Warcraft 3. He barely did anything. He was defeated right at the start, the opening of Legion on the Broken Shore, where in his dying breath he got 2 whispers that led him to pick Sylvanas as the warchief. One was the whisper of the Loa of Death Muezala, which we learned was an ally of the jailer, and the other is seemingly the Hand of Valor, a more noble voice that could be related to Azeroth, that might have been a way to trigger the current state of events so that we can get to the World Soul Saga. Because remember, I mean, the death of Vol'Jin pretty much changed everything and really led everything to what is currently going on. However, Muezala was literally a troll afterlife grifter and a scammer. I mean, we had the entire storyline of Bwonsamdi as the Loa of Death fighting him. Instead of really caring about troll souls or whatnot, he was just using them for his plan to get power with the jailer, and ultimately he was defeated alongside his mastermind master. However, you may remember that there is a really important storyline in Shadowlands where we had discovered the remnants of Rezan that you may remember from BFA, the Loa of Kings that was lost, and his soul was barely saved in the Shadowlands, but he was in terrible shape and there was no way to revive him. Remember, with how Shadowlands works, the Loa and the Wild Gods have been known to return through those wildseed, those cocoons that you had seen. It just takes some time to regenerate, but it was kinda over for Rezan, so in the questline, the Loa of Kings Rezan had actually merged his soul with Vol'Jin, and as you may remember, Vol'Jin was subsequently placed in the Wildseed with an open end, saying that he is going to return to the material plane someday. That day is going to be now, very, very soon. If not now, then when, really? I mean, here we are talking about figuring out the entire Titan mechanism, the fact that this entire Shadowlands is a scam, we're talking about the Titans themselves coming to Azeroth, we're talking about saving the world's soul with all these crazies coming for it. These Shadowlands souls are coming from the world trees, and the Harani are here now as the children of these world trees, so I really think Vol'Jin is set to return in the saga, and if it doesn't happen now, it probably never will happen. Here's the big deal. Now, as you may know, Midnight is an Elven expansion first and Troll expansion second, and there is a heavy hint for potential playable Amani later down the line, but a big part of the storyline is zul'aman in the Amani Trolls, and we had also discovered the island off the coast of zul'aman, which indicates that 12.1 is going to be about the Amani. Furthermore, there seems to be some sort of troll evil god presence there, or potentially some sort of a Loa with all the green rivers, like this, all this corruption stuff. So really, in the very first major patch of Midnight, we can expect heavy troll lore, Loa stuff, and the like. Furthermore, if you may remember from the Shadowlands, the former ruler of the Amani, Vol'Jin, was actually present in Revendreth as a soul that was being tortured there. Even furthermore, the guy that ruled while Vol'Jin was around, Kiltus, was also present in Revendreth, with also the possibility of returning soon as well. So this entire Shadowlands storyline seems to be a setup for Midnight. Also with Vol'Jin, he's no longer a darkspear troll or a warchief, he is now, as I said, Rezan Vol'Jin, a new Loa of Kings, and realistically, if he returns, he's likely going to return as a Loa and a figure that is going to be relevant to all the trolls on Azeroth, not just the darkspear, not just the Horde, and very likely we could see him as like this future new version of Bwonsamdi, like that type of a troll. Another really important point I want to note is that, keep in mind, the Shadowlands was a complete scam, both as an expansion but also from the lore perspective. Don't think that anyone that was in the Shadowlands is really dead, or that there was some sort of cosmic justice going on there, like those souls in Revendreth that were being like redeeming themselves. Based on the recent surveillance revelation from the War Within, Shadowlands is implied to be a Titan realm, a sort of a prison built between the mortal plane and the actual afterlife. This also explains why we only saw certain lore figures in the Shadowlands and not others, and seeing that we're also going back and forth between it, it's literally just another dimension, not the actual death realm. Any character we had seen there has the possibility to return at some point, and we know for a fact that at least one mechanism exists for it to happen through Arden build. I think the whole reason Arden build resurrection even works is because Shadowlands is a scam and it just collects energy away from the material plane, probably to keep this artificial cosmological balance that they recently wrote about. Now, I think there is a chance we might be able to destroy this realm once the Titans return to Azeroth and we figure out how and why they even built it, and what is really going on under Northrend, and how the Prison of the World Soul really even works. However, even with the Outerworld mechanism, remember, there was actually a 5-year timeskip between Shadowlands and Dragonflight, then we had the Dragonflight, the entire expansion, and now we had the War Within. Realistically, now in Midnight, it has been 10 years. 10 years since Vol'Jin was put inside a wildseed that was to be restored and returned to the material plane. Furthermore, he is working on like 2x resurrection speed, as he has merged with a very powerful Loa of Kings Rezan and his very own soul, plus he is good buddies with Bwonsamdi as well. I think a lot of cards are in his favor, and with the big troll storyline and discovery of this new island and the Amani stuff and everything, I think there is big thematic reason for them to include him and to finally bring him back. It will be really interesting to see Vol'Jin back again, and as I said, it will be really interesting and even more interesting to see Bwonsamdi like this, Bwonsamdi like Vol'Jin. Thanks for watching. Check out what the Devouring Host is, the army that the Legion was created to fight against in the first place, by clicking on the screen, and also check out my brand new Witcher channel that I recently created by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.